Cory Sandhagen returns for a much-anticipated bout against Deiveson Figueiredo for a bantamweight clash with possible title implications. This is the UFC 257 Fight Night preview show, and it's coming up next on Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to Fighting with Friends, the undisputed African fighting podcast, champion of the world. UFC Fight Night 257 takes place this Sunday, 4th of May at 4 a.m. South African time. And as always, breaking down the card with me is the reigning defending undisputed vegan champion of the world. That is, of course, Brother Guy.
What's up, bro? Is that my intro now? Getting these names wrong.
Changes all the time, whatever. Welcome back, BG. Happy to have you along here for another preview show. It is the UFC 257 preview show, and as always, we start
The top of the card.
at the top of the card. We do see our guy Cory Sandhagen, the number 4 bantamweight, who is 7-5-0, 7 by KO, 3 wins by sub. Last time out, he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision. He was on a 3-fight streak before that. He's coming up against number 5 bantamweight, Deiveson Figueiredo, 23-4-1, 9 by KO, 9 by sub. Last time out, losing to Peter Yan by unanimous decision. Also on a 3-fight streak before that. So both of these guys looking good before their last fights, BG. I know you're a big Sandhagen fight, so do you think he's going to get the job done here?
Look, firstly, what a nice card to come back to for my first card after taking such a week break. Because there's 2 fighters I really enjoy watching, and as you mentioned, Cory Sandhagen is one of my favorite guys to watch. Big fan, love his style, love his mindset, love the way he fights. His last fight against Umar Nurmagomedov wasn't really that nice. I mean, he was a bit gun-shy. I think he was a bit scared of that wrestling and made him almost fight very defensively. It's not really what you want to see for Cory Sandhagen. But in this fight, to answer your question, I do think he's going to win it. I think it's going to be a tough fight for him. I don't think he's going to finish Deiveson. But I think he's going to win on a 5-round decision. I just don't see it's hard to finish Deiveson Figueiredo, especially because there's something that Cory Sandhagen pointed out early in this media week, which I think is very on the nose, really. It's very onto the point for me, is that Deiveson Figueiredo has changed his game plan, his fight style since he's been in the bantamweight division, since moving up. He can't really powerhouse anybody the way he did in the flyweight division. If you think about it, see what does he do differently now? He wrestles more predominantly. He starts to take you down and use that jiu-jitsu. And that's kind of what we've seen for some of the other matches where like Cody Garbrandt and those guys where he kind of starts so quickly. He still packs that power, but I do think Sandhagen's the more superior striker. I think it's a bit more technical, more methodical, a lot more creative. I don't know if he matches the power, but I do think he can outstrike Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't know if Deiveson can knock Cory out, because Cory's been in there with Peter Yan. He's been in there with some killers, and he's able to come out of there unscathed, really. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of Deiveson though, but I just think in this division he's a bit. I think number 5 is as far as he's gonna go. If I'm being honest, I don't know if he's gonna go past number 5. I think this is because who has he fought in this division that's top ranked contenders? He fought Peter Yan, and Peter Yan beat Cory Sandhagen. So I was like, if he loses to Cory Sandhagen here, he can't really call those top 5 guys out anymore. He's gonna have to fight someone else, right? So it's kind of like one of the last straws for Deiveson Figueiredo for another title shot, if you think about it that way. So it's quite a lot for him on this fight. For Cory, it's like to prove why he needs to get that title shot. You know what I mean? But I don't know if he's going to get it. But it does put the bantamweight in a very strange division if Cory wins here. It would be nice if Deiveson wins in terms of like who moves next. But if Cory wins, it's like, now what do you do with this division? Which I think is going to be the case. I think Cory's just going to be too smart, too fast. And his movements, his footwork is just going to get him through those 5 rounds.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree there, BG. And shockingly, the bookmakers, let me show you some numbers here, bro. This is the opening odds, bro. Cory Sandhagen 1.18 to get the job done on the money line. So it's basically a foregone conclusion here, according to the bookies. And I think that line is just way too wide. But having said that, at the same time, I do agree with Sandhagen getting the job done here. What does kind of make me wonder. You alluded to the wrestling of Deiveson Figueiredo, and you did also say that that's what made Cory Sandhagen a bit gun shy in his last fight. So
Yes.
if Figueiredo does take a wrestling heavy approach, I think he gives himself a chance. But yeah, again, I just think Cory's going to be too much for him. His footwork's going to be too much. His fight IQ is going to be too much. And yeah, I think again this line is too wide, but I can see where they're coming from to a certain
Too
extent.
wide. They did the same
Uh,
thing when Deiveson fought Peter Yan. Remember, it was also quite a big difference between the dog and the favorite. And we all felt it was a bit too big. The line was a bit too massive because, I mean, then we watched the fight. And yeah, and Peter Yan won the fight, fair enough. But it wasn't like he, like 5 round domination. Like Figueiredo was in there. And he made it a bit of a dog fight towards the end of that first round. So I don't know. In terms of the wrestling, like you mentioned, Deiveson can wrestle, but his jiu-jitsu is better than his wrestling. And I don't know if his wrestling is similar to Magomedov. Or I don't know if he wrestles the same way.
no,
I don't think it does.
not even close. Not even
So
close.
exactly. And that's
Yeah,
why I think Cody would be able to be comfortable in the wrestling department. So Cody's a very good wrestler. Let's be honest, let's be real. The Magomedov didn't tap out Cody. You know what I mean? He won the fight by just boxing better and making Cody struggle and make him only defend takedowns. And Cody defend most of those takedowns really well. So
mm,
yeah, I don't know if Deiveson can really go there and out wrestle Cody either. So I just because of that, it's like I can understand why now saying it out loud, why the line's so massive. Because if you think about all the avenues, it's like does Deiveson really beat him? And Cody is a big bantamweight. He's 5'11". You know what I mean? He's not muscular bound, but he's a tall, nicely built bantamweight guy. So it's a tough fight, dude. It's a tough fight for Deiveson.
it is a tough fight for Davison. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any thoughts and you think that there's any chance that Davison Figueiredo could get it done, you'll be very interested to hear how he does. But yeah, BG, any final thoughts here on the main event before we keep it moving?
Just excited. It's a very exciting matchup. UFC has been a little bit of dropped in terms of the quality of cards, especially the fight night cards. But seeing this one, I was like, okay, not bad. So especially that main event, I'm like that's a fight. That's a very
Yeah.
good fight to put together. So excited for that one.
Yeah, I mean, even if it didn't have any kind of like weight in terms of title implications, this is
Yeah.
still just a great fight for the neutral and for the fans. So yeah, very much looking forward to this one. But all right, then BG, we'll keep it moving here, and here we go to former one championship middleweight champion RDR, coming into the UFC, trying to make a name for himself. He's ranked at number 13 now. Professional record 19-2-0, 4 by KO, 13 by sub. Last time out, he beat Kevin Holland by sub. He's coming up against the UFC Golden Boy. Stock has, let's be honest, fallen a little bit after his fight against Paul Craig, but the man is still undefeated, 7-0. 2 by KO, 4 by sub. And like I said, he beat Paul Craig in his last fight, not too convincingly. So just before I get your opinion here, BG, I just want to let you know that RDR is opening at as a 3.6 underdog, and Bo Nickal is 1.30, so almost as wide as the main event. So yeah, what are your thoughts and what do you make of that line?
Firstly, just to add to your introduction on RDR, it's the former two division one championship MMA champion, middleweight and welterweight. Let's just get that
There
in
you
there.
go.
Excuse me. Um, that's again massive with that betting line. I'm wondering if it's because Bo Nickal's undefeated and he's in the Division One wrestler and what and. But I mean, RDR, forget man, two division champion, black belt in judo, black belt in jiu-jitsu. The dude can wrestle, the dude can strike, and I don't think RDR is going to do what Paul Craig did. RDR is going to go and make it an ugly fight. He don't mind the grueling matchups. So I expect him to go in there and actually make it a bit of an uncomfortable fight for Bo Nickal, especially because RDR is a grappler. And I think he's going to kind of tease Bo Nickal and goad him into getting involved in the grappling exchange. And if it doesn't, I expect RDR to go and force it out of him, walk him down, throw a knee, throw at the south, because I think they're both southpaw, if I'm not mistaken. So it might just be RDR might just pull that 1-2 out of him and suck in that racing. And one thing I like about RDR, he's one of the very few MMA guys that utilize their judo, like traditional judo. You know what I mean? You'll get in close into the void, and you'll get into those changes, and next thing you know, you'll lock up an arm, throw an elbow, but the next thing you know, with that arm, you can go from there into judo throws. You can hip throw you from there, and he's very good at doing that. In that lock, you'll maybe throw a knee to your body, which forces you to duck, and then he'll take the hip and go with you. So I've seen him fight quite a numerous amount of times before coming into the UFC. And he's a dog, dude. It's just that these last two fights don't really showcase what he was like when he was one championship, because he fought against Anatoly Malikin. Malikin's like swept him very quickly, but it's Malikin. Let's be honest, it's like 4 divisions heavier. He's like a super heavyweight. Let's be honest.
Choose to the gills.
He's choose to the gills, bro. So RDR comes with a lot of pedigree here, AD, and I don't think that the line is actually being honest. So I'm gonna go with the dog in this one. I think RDR is gonna shock Bo Nickal and make him realize that there's levels to it. And people forget that just because it's in one championship doesn't mean it's discredited. Dude, the dude fought some maybe MMA guys in there, so and he's 2 division champion there. So yeah, I expect him to use that experience and he's more submission heavy than Bo Nickal is. So I think he can go in there and maybe sleep Bo Nickal.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you with the result there, bro. But having said that, if we do look back to RDR's fight against Gerald Meerschaert, I do think that Gerald Meerschaert did manage to put hands on him quite a few times. So I think that line is really coming from people anticipating a very early finish on feet here for Bo Nickal. But I think if it goes beyond a round and a half, I think Bo Nickal might be in trouble. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. I do think that RDR is going to get the job done, and as a recovering betting man, I would bet on RDR. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I might come back in the game for that one.
We're taking a break.
But yeah, I might have to take a break. Yeah, we are very much down, and we're not monetized yet. So yeah, we need to start saving those pennies. But yeah, you do think RDR is going to get it done? If Bo Nickal does get it done, is it going to be an early finish, or do you see him possibly getting it done over the course of 3 rounds?
No. I think it's going to finish within the first 2 rounds. I don't see this fight going to the 3rd round unless they put it in a snooze fest for us, like the Paul Craig matchup. But I don't think just based on what I've watched from RDR in the past and the kind of fighter that he is, and we didn't really get to see it that much, but you saw glimpses of it when he fought Kevin Holland, and he's that kind of guy, man. He forces the nature. Even when you watched him when he did the jiu-jitsu match with Tairo Tolo, he forced the fight against Tai. He didn't wait for anything to happen. He's not the kind of guy that's gonna take pictures in the octagon, dude. He's gonna force the fight. That's why he was getting clipped by Gerald Meerschaert. Because he goes in there and he wants to make it a disgusting kind of matchup. So, and I don't think Bo Nickal is a very, I want to be the clean, pristine athlete. I want to go in there and be the smartest and be the cleanest fighter. And those kind of fighters, I hate to say it, but they remind me of Arsenal. They don't like a dirty matchup. They hate it. You know what I mean? So, and RDR makes it a dirty fight. And I expect that to happen in this match.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But yeah, if you have any different thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments. Subscribe to Fighting with Friends, and please drop a like on the video before you leave. But we'll go to the welterweight division now, BG. Legend in the game here, Santiago Ponzinibbio. His professional record 31-8-0. He's won 17 by KO, 6 by sub. Last time out, he beat Carlson Harris by KO. He's coming up against D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, 18-5-0, 8 by KO, 4 by sub. Last time out, he beat Alex Morono by split decision. So is it going to be another W for the legend, bro? Or we're going to see the guy who came from the streets, took it to the UFC, put hands on Santiago? Yeah, bro.
Yo, this is a good matchup, eh? I think the UFC did good with this one because both these guys love to box. It's just a matter of if Santiago is smart, I would go to the wrestling in this fight. Because if it goes to state boxing, which I think that's probably what's going to happen here, I'm actually inclined to tip it towards Daniel Rodriguez. I think he's cleaner, he's taller, right? He's got the longer reach, just ever so slightly, but the way that he strikes makes him look like he strikes with that reach a bit longer. But Ponzinibbio doesn't really, he doesn't strike where he lands at the end of his punch. You know what I mean? Full extension. He kind of like, he talks his wrists. His punches are a little bit shorter in terms of covering distance the way Daniel does, just because of other technique. He's so different in the way they strike. But both of them like to go and get into the pocket, get the front foot going, and then let the hands go. I do think that Daniel Rodriguez in the past has shown us that he does work off the jab a little bit better before he throws the right hand, which is what I like to see. Whereas Ponzinibbio is a little bit more reckless, close you down. Once we get into the void, now we're going to stand and bang, and I think I'm going to land first, and that's how he goes. That's how he wins most of his fights. That's how he got such a high knockout rate. But I do think that he's a better wrestler, so I want to see him utilize that because standing in the pocket, yeah, I don't know if he's going to get. I don't know if he's going to survive the fight. So, D-Rod, I think he should just work off that jab. If he does work off that jab, I think he can cruise himself to a nice decision win, maybe even get the knockout. But both guys are kind of balls to the walls kind of fighters, so we're going to see a rock'em sock'em, I think. And I think D-Rod comes out standing first, and it comes down to a gunfight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a good one. The bookies are saying that this one is likely to go the distance. It is very close to a pick'em fight.
You see? Thought so.
So yeah, I think because D-Rod, bruh, this man's from the streets, bruh. And I think if it comes down for punch, I think he's gonna get the better of Ponzinibbio. Hoping for the finish, but yeah, like I said, if I just scroll down a little bit, yeah, you'll see that this fight to go the distance, 1.6. So yeah, that's what I think is the likely result. Is give me D-Rod by decision here. So yeah, PG, any final thoughts here from you, sir?
It's gonna be a barn burner, definitely. Santiago can throw some calf kicks. I have seen him use it before, so I expect him to utilize that as the shorter fighter. But all that being said, I think it's gonna be one for the fans.
Fair play. So be sure to tune in early for that one, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll keep it moving and we'll go to the bantamweight division. And here we see Montal Jackson, number 15 ranked, professional record 14-2-0. He's on a 5-fight streak. The last time out, he beat Damon Blackshear by KO. Coming up against Daniel Marcus, who is 17-0-0, 8 by sub, 4-fight streak. Last time out, beating Adrian Yanez by split decision. So, Daniel Marquez fully undefeated here, bro.
I remember that fight.
Another dub, or what are your thoughts on this one, bro?
This is how we do it, Montal, bruh. Montal's gonna go in there and put on a show. I think he's gonna take Daniel Marcus's 0 here. To be honest with you, 80. Daniel Marcus, good boxer. I mean, beating Adrian Yanez was a big thing for him because Adrian Yanez is a good name in this division. Let's be honest. So taking Adrian Yanez to a split decision is brilliant. I think he utilized good wrestling, good cage control, boxed really well in that fight. So I thought, okay, Adrian Yanez is not bad. Excuse me. Still recovering from that flu. He's a very competent fighter and very smart, and I think that's what led him to win that fight against Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez is very, very wild kind of fighter, and Marcus Marcus was able to, be the matador to that bull there really well, which impressed me. But Montal Jackson is clever, fast, hits hard, exciting fighter. I'm a fan. I think he's gonna give Daniel Marquez a good test. To be honest with you, I think he's gonna put him through the ringer here, and I expect him to win the fight by decision. He didn't get it ranked for no reason, and beating Damon Blackshear, who people consider to be quite a very fantastic high wrestling pedigree, good fighter. I don't really see it. Montal walked through him, bro. So yeah, I think this is gonna be another fantastic fight for the UFC. Good matchmaking again. Because Daniel Marquez is obviously with that kind of record, 17-0, is wanting to obviously climb the rankings, and here you go, rank number 15, Montal Jackson. Let's go. So I'm expecting a barn burner and Montal Jackson to win by decision.
Yeah, and the bookies are agreeing with you there. Montal Jackson
Really?
starting as the 1.5 favorite. Daniel Marcos is 2.65 underdog. So it's not exactly a wide line, but yeah, Montal Jackson edging it a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, Brad, looks like we are in agreement on that one. Do you have any final thoughts?
This is gonna be a fun fight. I think win or lose, both fighters is going to be a name that the UFC fans are gonna remember. Let's put it that way.
Looking forward to that one then. And we'll keep it moving then to another bantamweight fight here. And here we see Cameron Smotherman, 12-4-0, 6 by KO, 1 by sub. Last time out, he beat Jake Hadley by unanimous decision. He's coming up against Sidey, who is 11-2-0, 7 by KO, 1 by sub. Last time out, he beat Garrett Armfield by split decision. So yeah, honestly, I don't know too much about these cats. So
Mhm.
PG, help me out here,
Not
bro.
Qatar. So I don't know much about Sidey. Did I say Sidey? This is the first time I'm watching this guy, but I do know Cameron. I've watched Cameron's fights, especially especially the last one against Jake Hadley. Who I thought was going to be a tough test for him. Jake Hadley's a good fighter, very good fighter coming out of England, and I thought it'll be a good test. But Smotherman went in there and put on a show, bro. Won every single round very comfortably. Got a good gas tank. He listens to his coaches. Very well-rounded kind of athlete, and I'm excited to watch more of him. I'm not going to say he's going to go out there and win or lose just because I have no idea what series style is all about.
Mm.
But I'm excited to watch Cameron, and I'm going to leave it at that because I think he's a fun guy and fun fighter, and he's young, and I think he's going to bring some good character for the UFC, especially in that bantamweight division, which is at the moment is a bit dry. Let's get real.
Yeah, fair comment there, I think. But yeah, just to your point there, Cameron Smotherman is starting as the 2.10 underdog here.
There you go.
City is the 1.75 favorite. So yeah, be very interesting to see what transpires there.
Absolutely.
But okay, BG, I'll give you some final thoughts if you have any on this one before we move to Jeremy Stevens.
Nah, let's go to my boy Jeremy, bro. He's making his return.
Let us go to Jeremy Stevens, absolute legend in the game here, professional record 28, 19 and 0. 19 wins by KO, 2 by sub. Last time out, he lost to Matthias Gamrot by sub. That was all the way back in 2021. He's coming up against Mason Jones, who is 11-2 and 0, 4 by KO, 3 by sub. He's on a 2-fight streak. Last time out, beating Ludovic Klein by unanimous decision, and that was all the way back in 2022. So both of these guys been relatively inactive. I'll say relatively, but they've been inactive
Mm,
over the last few the last few years.
yeah.
So yeah, what can you tell us here about Jeremy Stevens? Of course, legend.
Mhm.
Is he going to get another notch to the belt here? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I'm shocked to see that he's back, honestly, because he was doing it really well in PKFC. That's where he went after the UFC, after that fight against Matthias Gamrot. He went into the BKFC and doing phenomenally there and getting paid so much more. So I'm shocked to see that he's back. But he's back and he's a killer and he's back in lightweight. Let's get real. So it's not at featherweight. So that's really nice to see. Excuse me. Mason Jones, not much I can say on the lad. This is kind of a throwback fight for both these guys. If we're being real, beating Ludovic Klein is not really something massive to take home of. But Jeremy Stevens just fought the who's who, as we all know. So I'm not going to go and list his whole career. I just think it's going to be a fantastic fight. Even being honest, because Jeremy Stevens doesn't really partake in boring fights. Unless people are taking him down and holding him there for the whole fight, and then you're like, you know. But when people are willing to stand with him, yo, that's gonna be exciting. And I hope that Mason Jones is prepared to go in there and deal with a bull because Jeremy Stevens is a dog, even though he's coming back. He's on the other side of 30 now, and we know he's obviously the yesteryear guy, but dude, he can fight, man, and he's a killer kind of fighter. If Jones is smart, he should go wrestle. But
Mm.
I don't know if he's gonna do that. I think he's gonna want to try and get a KO finish, and I expect Jeremy Stevens to win the fight by KO.
Sheesh, bro. Jeremy Stevens is the biggest underdog on the card at 5.25, bro. So you're really tempting a recovering gambling addict here to come back.
Let's go, Jeremy Stevens. Do it for the old guys.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any thoughts on that one, let us know in the comments. But okay, BG, we're gonna go to some honorable mentions on the prelims, yeah. So let
Mhm.
us know which fights you'd like to mention, and yeah, we can
Those
get
three
to
right
those.
there.
Right,
Those
talk to
exactly
us.
that. So we'll start with the one that's right on top of the prelims between Yano Santos, who is ranked number 10. That's the strawweight, no? What that division is? Bantamweight. There we
Bantamweight.
go, bantamweight. So it's the bigger ladies taking on the Misha Tate, who's coming out of retirement. I don't know what's going on with the UFC bringing out retirement fighters to come back. And she's ranked, by the way, ranked number 12. So that means there's going to be some implications on the division. Excuse me. Yana Santos record is 15 wins, 8 losses, 0 no contest, 7 wins by KO, 1 win by sub, 7 first round finishes, which would beat Chelsea Chandler. Just give me a second. Yo, sorry. Still got some of that flame there. She beat Chelsea Chandler by unanimous decision in the last fight. We should take, we know she's legend, former bantamweight champion. Ranked record is 20 wins, 9 losses, 0 no contest. 4 wins by KO, 8 wins by sub. She beat Julia Avila by sub in the last fight, who is now retired. What can I say? Excited for the fight. I know Yana Santos is a dog. I know she doesn't put on board in fights. She's a go-getter, fights with the front foot, loves to jab, loves to go forward and make it exciting fight. Good kickboxer, by the way. But we should tell you, you know what she does. She's a straight-up grappler, all-American grappler, loves jiu-jitsu, good submission game, good guillotine, good rear naked choke, but not that great when it comes to the boxing and kickboxing. So she's going to obviously try and go in there, jab, 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 and then shoot for a takedown. So it all comes down to if Yana is able to defend that takedown and stand and sprawl really hard and get back up to the feet, maybe even throw a knee and make sure they think twice about taking it down. I expect Yana Santos to win the fight. But if it goes down to the ground, I don't know. Because Michitate's very good at that fight. So good matchup. The winner is obviously going to get to climb the ranking. So looking forward to that fight, actually. So let's go for that. I think Yana Santos is going to win. If I give my pick. Moving down the card, we have Ryan Loader, who won the Ultimate Fighter season 32. Correct me if I'm wrong. Season 32. His record in UFC is 8 wins, 1 loss, 0 no contest. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, 5 wins by KO. He beat Rob Valentin, the Rob Villa, by KO in his last fight, which was his debut in UFC. Azamat Bakayev, good fighter, by the way. His record in the UFC is 19 wins, 3 losses, 0 no contest, 7 wins by KO, 8 wins by sub, 9 first round finishes. He beat Zachariah Reese by KO in his last fight, which I kind of thought was quite nice because, he put in a good display of kickboxing. And I was like, oh, this dude's fun to watch. Quick go-getter. Ryan Loader is a Division 1 wrestler. Very good wrestler, by the way. That's his go. That's his game. He doesn't mind striking with you, but his striking is mainly just to get you to back up to the cage where you can't really get anywhere, and then he shoots on you, takes you down. And once he gets you down, that's Ryan Loader's domain, submission specialist. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. I think this is also some fight to look forward to if you want to look forward to the prelims. Azamat's obviously going to try and be aggressive, but if he gets taken down, I think he might just get tapped out here. All right, let's keep it moving. Then we have more bantamweight implications. Again, Marina Rodriguez, ranked number 9 in the bantamweight. She's taking. Oh no, this is strawweight. Sorry, this is another ranked matchup. So I'm very amped for this one. She's taking on Jillian Robertson, ranked number 12. I don't know. I fear the worst for her in this one because Marina Rodriguez is a very good boxer. Record is 17-5. 5 losses, 2 no contests, 6 wins by KO, 1 win by sub, 4 first round finishes. She lost to Lucinda by split decision. That's because she got taken down and just kept there the whole time. Jillian Robertson is exactly that kind of fighter as well. Her record in the UFC is 15 wins, 8 losses, 0 no contests, 2 wins by KO, 9 wins by sub. So that tells you what she's like. 3 first round finishes. She beat Luana Pinedo by unanimous decision in her last fight. So Jillian Robertson is a wrestler. She's going to go in there, try and strike with it, but you're going to realize she doesn't really like to strike. Almost very much a blueprint of Miesha Tate, if you think about it that way. Rodriguez is not going to line her that she's going to go in and be dog-like. She's going to jab her hard, overhand right, defend those takedowns, get her back up, throw some elbows in the clinches, and I expect her to win the fight by decision. Maybe even a bloody fight, if I'm being honest. I don't see any finishes here, but I expect it to be a bit of a gruesome matchup because Jillian bleeds very easily. Rodriguez hits very hard, and she's very good with the striking arsenal. So let's go for that. It's a good matchup.
All right, nice. And then shout out to Wang Le, of course, on the prelims here. And then another guy, bro, Dante Moyes, who seems to be on every fight card, bro. Every time I watch a UFC fight card, it seems like he's there. So I don't know what if this guy's fighting or if he's just like showing face on the card, but it just seems like every time there's a fight night card, he's on the card, bro. So not too much else to say about those guys.
Yes. And Juliana Miller taking on what's the woman's name?
Ivana Petrovic.
Yeah, that's also some noticeable names. Juliana Miller, she's on 2 fights slide, I think, but she also was in the Ultimate Fighter on the same season as Julian Robertson, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, just some names that I can drop there that's been around actually.
Give thanks, BG, and that kind of wraps it up for UFC Fight Night 257. We got a bit of media story that we're just going to cut to quickly before we wrap out. And this, I think, came out a few hours ago officially. This was released that Dylan Thomas, UFC insider, claiming that Tom Aspinall has agreed to fight Cyril Gane. We know that everybody knows the saga with John Jones and how we've been
Mm,
waiting for this
mm,
fight. Tom Aspinall set the unwanted record of the longest reigning UFC interim champion. So that's just, I think, an indication of where we're at with the situation.
yeah.
So yeah, Brad, give me your thoughts on this. Do you think Cyril Gane is the right guy if it's not going to be John Jones? And yeah, general thoughts on this, please.
I don't think he's the right guy. I think it should have been Volkov, even though Tom Aspinall beat him already. But I thought he beat Cyril Gane, if I'm being honest.
Everybody
Um,
thought so, bro, except the
yeah,
judges.
except for the judges. Realistically, it should be John Jones taking on Tom Aspinall. If we're being completely honest, like that's really what the matchup should have been. Not sure what the reasoning is. So it's a bit disappointing to get this news because that's what all the fans wanted. But now we got Cyril.
This
If
is
it's going to be
number
this,
one bullshit.
thank you so much, Khabib. If this was going to be the fight, Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall, then yeah, I guess we're going to go with it. It's not really going to. It's not sparking a lot of waves for me to be like, oh, I'm to go and watch that fight. To be honest with you,
Mm.
but if it is that, then okay, let's go with it. And I think Tom Aspinall's going to go in there, and this fight's going to be for the title, right? It's not going to be interim title.
Yeah, I think it will be interim title.
Nah, then I'm Tom Aspinall. I'm asking for like 20 million for this fight. Then I'll be very upset
Yeah,
because what the hell is John Jones doing there?
silly,
What is
bro.
he
I
doing
think
there?
John Jones also set a record recently as the longest undisputed heavyweight champion, and he's only fought like twice throughout his reign. So yeah, I mean, it's a terrible situation for the fans and for the organization. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think because Cyril Gane, like before he lost to John Jones, was very disappointing, of course, the nature of the
Mhm.
loss. But before that, he was looking very good, bro. And people were talking
Yeah.
about him kind of being the blueprint for the new kind of heavyweight fighter because he moves like a middleweight. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the fight we want to see, of course, but I don't hate the fight. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
Tommy Aspinall is going to have to utilize his wrestling to get this one done.
Mm.
Because I do think Cyril Gane is the superior kickboxer there. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting fight. It's not the fight we want to see, but yeah, when life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade sometimes.
There you
So
go.
yeah, and if you have any thoughts on that, ladies and gentlemen, drop us a comment there. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. But okay, BG, that is UFC Fight Night 257 Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. And as always, I'm going to go to some final thoughts and a pre-fight rating
Mm.
for the card, please.
Final thoughts. Excited. Super amped, especially because there's some weight to some of these fights in terms of how they can climb the rankings for the women and for the men. So for that, in terms of the five fights on the main card, they appear to be on paper good matchups for me. And then that last three fights of the prelims before we get to main card are also really exciting matchups. So I'm gonna go with solid 7.5 here.
Nicely
If it
done,
changes,
BG.
if it changes over the weekend, then it does. But I think 7.5 is a good rating for them.
Yeah, I think considering it's a fight night card, the main and co-main are definitely, I think, fights that could have been on a pay-per-view card. Not
Yes.
necessarily the main and co-main, but definitely fights that could have been on a pay-per-view card. So very grateful for that. But it kind of just shows you the standard that the UFC is setting in terms of what's
Yeah.
acceptable these days. But yeah, again, drop
Yes.
us a comment if you have any, ladies and gentlemen. But more importantly, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to
I
Fighting with
watch your
Friends.
podcast
Watch the
every fucking
podcast every day.
day.
Joe Rogan.
Jordan!
For myself, BGBB, always here at Fighting with Friends. We'll see you on the live stream for One Championship Fight Night 31. That will be at 2:30 a.m. South African time on Saturday morning. So be sure to tune in for that. Thank you so much again, ladies and gentlemen. We are out of here.